Hi, and welcome back to another weekly horoscope. I am so excited. I feel like I say this every video, but truly, there's something every single week that I see to look forward to. I have had Mars on my Pluto. Those of you that were born in the mid 90s, maybe even, yeah, like early to mid 90s, probably have had this transit going on too. There's been a lot of momentum towards transformation in my life. Major transformation at every single level. So if you have anything late degree Scorpio, or late degrees, fixed signs. That is really the focus right now. And especially as we get into this Mercury retrograde that we have beginning a week from today. So, Mercury retrograde starts on November 9th. It starts at 6 degrees of Sagittarius. Anything you have around early degrees of Sagittarius or mutable signs is going to be affected by this Mercury retrograde. I mean, it's already been affected because Mercury has already been moving through early degrees of Sagittarius. So, where is that for you in your chart? What do you have at early degrees Sagittarius or late degrees Scorpio? Because those are really focal points of your chart and your life right now. So, as I talk about in my astrology courses, when we talk about your houses and where things are in your chart for you, we're talking about your literal physical areas of life. So for me, I have Scorpio in my second house. In my real life, the transits that are happening to my Scorpio stuff, because it's in my second house, is affecting my money, right? That is how astrology tells you about your actual life and what areas of life are a focus of different energies or different lessons at different times, right? That's how we make astrology real, practical, and help and use it to help understand our actual day-to-day life. So whatever houses you have Scorpio and Sagittarius ruling, that's the major focus right now. Also, anything, like I said, you have at late degrees, mutable signs or late degrees, fixed signs are also going to be a focus as well because Mercury and Mars will be aspecting those placements, those planets you have at late degrees, mutable or fixed signs, because that is how we get deeper into like the astrology interpretations of things, is looking at aspects. And that is going to tell us what is being squared or opposed in your chart right now by these current transits. So anyways, I walk you through that in my astrology course and in my membership if you want to come join and learn astrology with me and how to understand more about this language and this system. That is what I offer. That is what I do. What else do we have? We have a full moon in Taurus this week. I'll be doing a full moon workshop in my membership for the full moon in Taurus. I'm really excited about this one because it's going to be close to my sun and it's going to be opposite my Jupiter. So I'm really looking forward to it. What else? We have Mars moving into Sagittarius. We have Venus moving into Scorpio. It's going to square Pluto. We have Uranus going back into Taurus as well. So again, major emphasis on whatever you have in early degrees mutable signs and late degrees fixed signs. Also early degree fixed signs because of where Pluto is and where where Venus is going to be moving into this week. So that's what we have going on. We are still going to have the Jupiter Chiron square. I've been talking about this in my membership. That's going to be happening for quite a while. The Jupiter Chiron square is going to last a few months because Jupiter is going retrograde. And then, which is not bad, retrogrades are not bad. Retrogrades are not bad, they just happen, and we can understand them. When you learn the language and the system of astrology, you can understand what it means, especially for your individual chart. But anyways, Jupiter is going retrograde soon, and so then Chiron is going to go direct, and so they're kind of like switching, and they're going to stay challenging each other for the next couple months. The peak was on October 23rd. We're going to have another peak of Jupiter square Chiron on December 20th. And then I believe they're going to start to move farther apart because Chiron will be direct, I believe, by that point. I need to double check my ephemeris that I actually got from my storage unit. I'm really excited to have that with me now because I can like more easily see astrology transits. the Bible of astrology transits. And then Jupiter will be retrograde, so it will be moving away from Chiron, and then Chiron will be direct, so it will be moving forward and away from Jupiter. So that is kind of what we have to look forward to. I mean, obviously, we're in the thick of it right now, and then it's going to peak again at the end of December. We're also going to have this week Jupiter exactly trine, which is a harmonious aspect with Saturn. So there's going to be a lot of miracles and harmony when we feel the feelings that are coming up from the challenges or conflicts that we're facing and really do the internal work to shift and process what's coming up and consciously shift it. I've been talking about this so much in my TikToks and things, is how we really right now are being called to remember, and this is why I named this video what I did. We are being called with all of this water sign energy. We are being called to remember that we are the creators of our life. We are the manifestors of our life, and we can create what we focus on. And there might be things that we have to process emotionally in order to clear space for that manifestation to come in. And I think with this full moon we have on Wednesday, that's going to be amplified as well at this time. And so, yeah, that's really the overall energy of this week. We are really learning how much responsibility and power we have to create what we want in our lives, and how to pave the way for it by clearing space in our emotional bodies or whatever is going on internally, right? That's really what retrogrades do, is have us shift our focus from the external to the internal. Any retrograde is about focusing internally on what is coming up for you, how to shift it, how to reassess and refine it, so that when the planet goes direct, we move forward with the lessons we learned and what we changed about how that energy was showing up for us, or that lesson, what that lesson is trying to teach us. So that's my view of astrology. That's my view of everything that's going on right now. I do view it as this divine, I've been saying this all year, the great pivot, divine recalibration. It's all continuing to happen. We're still also in the year of the snake, shedding old skin. This is also a 9-year, a Mars year, taking action on a great ending. So here we are, the year's almost over. And with all of that, I feel like now is the time to get into the horoscopes. So let me share my screen. Okay, Aries Rising. Wait, I'm going to change the view of this. I wish it could make me a little bigger. I don't know what I just did, but we're experimenting. We're experimenting with new things. What if I did this? No. Okay. Anyways, Aries Rising. We start the week off with the moon in your first house. This is an emotional renewal. This is really a lot more momentum towards what changes you're making and your sense of self and your identity, and feeling emotionally driven to make those changes and be more embodied in what is shifting for you. On Tuesday, you're going to have the moon moving into your second house, where the full moon will be. Big focus of the full moon will be on your money, on your resources, maybe food as well. Mars also moves into your ninth house on Tuesday and opposes Uranus in your third house. So there could be a lot of breakthroughs, maybe related to money, maybe just related in general to your communication style or your mindset. A lot of what we're going to be experiencing with this Mercury retrograde, especially for you, Aries, because it's in your ninth house, is shifting your belief systems and shifting your perspective of life. Maybe returning back to a spiritual practice or something that helps you to kind of see things from a different perspective and shift how you're viewing the world around you. There's been a lot of triggers and wounds coming up to heal and look at in your sense of self, your identity, your home, as well as your relationships. And so, what are those showing you about yourself that you want to change, or maybe about your career as well that you want to restructure? And it does all kind of come back to what you're believing gets to be true for you. Then we have that full moon on Wednesday in your second house of money, going to really illuminate those inner subconscious psychological themes of how you're viewing your resources and what gets to be true for you about money and resources in general. Then on Thursday, we have the moon moving over Uranus in your third house. It will be opposite Mars and Mercury in your ninth. So again, more breakthroughs around your mindset, your belief systems, what is shifting, seeing yourself as the creator of your life based on the story you're telling yourself about things around you, and choosing to consciously shift them. There could be emotional breakthroughs around that and insights around that on Thursday with this transit. And then later on Thursday, Venus moves into your eighth house, putting the focus of your self-worth, your values, your relationships even, and your money on your resources and on maybe some internal transformation that needs to happen to call in better resources for yourself, or invest differently, pay off debt, taxes, inheritance, anything related to like external money stuff, like where you put it, what you do with it, maybe even where it's coming in, how it's coming in. Again, big focus this week with that full moon, and then everything else on your money and transforming it. You also might be inspired because Venus is going to challenge Pluto on Friday. You might be inspired through a friend to change something about your resources or your money, but it might kind of be challenging. Like, oh, your friend wants you to go to this really expensive retreat with them, but you're like, how am I going to afford that? Like, how can I come up with the resources for that? That's kind of this energy. And then it inspires you to make necessary changes to be able to do that thing, because you're realizing the correlation between like having more money and having more freedom and having more options to do things that you love. And it really all does come down to your identity and embodying having what you want before you have it. On Saturday, the moon moves into your fourth house, into Cancer. It's going to harmonize with Venus. So this might give you some more, again, insights, downloads about your money situation, and maybe related to childhood stuff or your home or family in some way. It does feel like this creates a kind of positive emotional shift. And then also we have Uranus back in Taurus now in your second house. So again, lots of shifts around your money related to how you're viewing yourself worthy and valuable of having money. So that's really the biggest theme of Uranus going back into Taurus and revisiting your second house is like, okay, what do I need to innovate as it relates to my money and my resources and how I'm making it and what I'm doing with it? Then as we get into Sunday, the moon is going to move over Jupiter in your fourth house. There might be some breakthroughs around home. The moon's also going to harmonize with the sun in your eighth and harmonize with the north node in your 12th. So there could be a lot of internal shifts, again, at kind of like a subconscious psychological level related to your belief systems on Sunday. And then we have that Mercury retrograde beginning, really shifting the focus of your thoughts and your communication, your mindset internally to really reflect on what needs to change about the way you're viewing life, about your perspective, your philosophies of life as well. You might also, if this resonates, be reevaluating some long-term trip, some long-term travel situation as well. So that's the week I have for you, Aries. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right, Taurus, we start the week off on Monday with the moon in your 12th house. This is maybe propelling some sort of phase, or I feel like I didn't say that right. Like, it's kind of having you go inward. It's putting the emotional focus on your inner world, on maybe what needs to be reevaluated there. There's been a lot of triggers, there's been a lot of challenges, a lot of tension, maybe from your relationships, maybe work relationships, or just people you're interacting with on a daily basis, like kind of bringing up a lot of wounds or triggers at a subconscious level. maybe even related to where you're going or what you're doing, who you're talking to on a daily basis, as we've had this T square between Chiron, Venus, and Jupiter in your third house and your 12th and sixth houses. So putting a lot of kind of pressure and tension on how you take care of yourself and where you go and who you talk to be able to do that. And maybe at the start of the week, you're really focused on, okay, where do I need to pull back my energy from certain things in order to reassess what really feels good for me to focus on or have in my routine or do on a daily basis. Then, as we get into Tuesday, Mars moves into your eighth house, the moon moves into your first house. There's a sense of emotional renewal of your sense of self and of your identity, maybe even your appearance as well. If a lot of things have been coming up around body image or stuff like that, this could be a big emotional renewal of that energy, whatever you've been working on embodying as it relates to that. But at the start of this transit, like midday on Tuesday, it is going to challenge Pluto in your 10th house. So this could also create some conflict between you and your career or your public reputation or image in some way. Now that Mars is opposite Uranus, it's a lot of money stuff that you're being called to take action on and to reevaluate and to make changes to that are necessary for what you're changing about your career or what you're doing differently in your career, what you're wanting to transform there to maybe bring more money in and just kind of have more of stability with it. As we get into Wednesday, we have the full moon in Taurus that will be in your first house. So, this is going to be an illumination of you, maybe what needs to change about your relationships or the people you're surrounding yourself with to feel more secure in yourself, to feel more like valued in who you are and what you do and how you share yourself with the world. I mean, full moon in the first house is like there's this illumination and this new kind of, how do I say that? Like, coming there's this new emerging of you. This could feel like a rebirth in some way. This could feel like a kind of a clicking in of an embodiment around a new identity or something about your identity and sense of self that has been shifting. As we get into Thursday, Venus moves into Scorpio in your seventh house. The moon moves into your second house. This might propel you into some breakthroughs or innovations around money, further related to what's changing in your career. There might also be some change in your relationship or like your relationships in general with people around you that kind of challenges your career in some way. As we get into Friday, especially because Venus is going to exactly challenge Pluto in your 10th house, this could be like a work conflict or a partnership conflict or something that you're realizing like, oh, this no longer aligns with my values. This no longer aligns with like what I want for myself or my long-term goals or visions. It's kind of like some challenge or conflict helps you to reevaluate how you want to make changes to whatever is going on or whatever has been going on. As we get into Saturday, the moon moves into Cancer, into your third house. It's going to harmonize with Venus. So, this could be a further kind of emotional clarity around whatever's changing in your relationships or partnerships in some way. Doesn't have to be romantic. It could be, doesn't have to be. This is just any kind of relationship in your life. You're realizing what you want to do differently in order to maybe support yourself better. Like maybe you've been spending too much time with a certain person and it's draining your energy or something, or you're giving too much of your power away to other people or energy away to other people and you're like, I need to reel it back. This is kind of that energy of realizing that and making the necessary changes. We also have Mars getting pretty close to Mercury in your eighth house. So there could be a lot of revelations or insights as we lead up to Mercury retrograde on Sunday around what needs to change in your resources or where you're putting your money, like how you're using it, how you're investing it, maybe even how you're saving it, that kind of thing, what you're doing with it. And then lots of identity stuff for you this week, Taurus, especially as Uranus moves back into your first house. Friday into Saturday, this could be a really big reevaluation of you, of your worthiness, of your value, and how that's showing up, how you're sharing that with the world, acknowledging your worth and your value as you share yourself and your gifts. Mm, there could be more insights and breakthroughs around all of that on Sunday. like I said, as Mercury retrograde begins, and then we have the moon harmonizing with the sun in the North Node in your third, seventh, and 11th houses. So this could be some insights around what needs to change in your day to day to feel more supported by your friends, your community, in your relationships, and really kind of reevaluating, okay, does this person line up with how I've changed? Do I want to continue spending time with this person or nurturing the relationship? It's a lot of kind of relationship stuff. And if it plays into your long term vision and what's changing for yourself in this new chapter you're moving into, can you take these people with you? Is the major theme. So that's what we had for you, Taurus. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Gemini rising. We start the week off with the moon in your 11th house. You get some emotional clarity at the start of the week around your long term goals, visions, maybe community and friendship, maybe even social media, your relationship to it. There's been a lot of friction and challenges between that, and maybe your dating, your romance, or creative stuff, and what's going on with your money. It kind of feels like these things are all kind of challenging each other. But the maybe you've been called to go a lot more inward than you have previously and spend a lot more time with yourself, kind of looking at what the stuff is bringing up for you and how you can shift it in healthy ways that are going to benefit you long term, and what's changing about your vision to and your long term goals to line up with that. On Tuesday, the moon moves into your 12th house, Mars moves into your 7th house. There's a lot of momentum with this transit on your relationships. With the moon in your 12th house challenging Pluto in your ninth, you might realize some subconscious block that you've had that maybe is holding you back from doing something you want to do or changing something about your life you've been wanting to change. Um, it feels like a lot of inner work, like I said, is the focus for you at this time. Really looking at what your belief systems are and how that's creating, perpetuating your reality, and whether or not you want that to, or if you want to align with a new reality. Especially with Mars opposite Uranus now on Tuesday in your first and seventh houses, it's like shifting your identity to line up with the changes that you want in your life, you want to see come to fruition. Um, on Wednesday, we have the full moon in Taurus in your 12th house. So, this is an illumination of, again, your subconscious, your inner world, maybe things that have been hidden from you about your direction or what you're doing for work or your physical and mental health, and balancing those two things. You might get a lot of illumination around that with this full moon on Wednesday in order to make the changes you need. Then on Thursday, we have the moon moving over Uranus and into your first house. This is an emotional renewal of the self, of you. There might be something you're realizing you need to take action on as it relates to that, maybe with who you're talking to or who you're surrounding yourself with, maybe in a partnership or a relationship. Doesn't have to be romantic. This is all kinds of relationships. But there's something that's like suddenly shifting with all of that, that you have, like all of a sudden on Thursday, gotten clarity around. Um, on what to do about it and what to shift. Also on Thursday, Venus moves into your sixth house. So there's this focus on, okay, what needs to change about my work, my routine, what I'm eating, where I'm going, maybe like if I'm working out, moving my body. There's kind of this need to shift what you're doing on a daily basis for work and to support your physical health. And that might on Friday challenge, again, a belief system. It might challenge something that's changing about you, how you view life. It might challenge an old belief system so that you transform it, so that you change it, right? That's really the biggest energy of this. And then also on Friday, we're going to have the moon challenge Saturn and Neptune. So that could feel like, okay, I've changed so much, but who am I in relation to my career? Like, and do I want to keep doing what I've been doing in my career? As if I've changed, does that mean what I'm doing for my career has changed? There might be this kind of like crisis later on Friday, or conflict around like you and your image, what you're doing for your career and how you're presenting yourself to the world. But I do feel like as we get into the weekend on Saturday, the moon moves into Cancer in your second house, harmonizes with Venus in your sixth. There could be this clarity all of a sudden, and this emotional drive to really change what you've realized all week you want to change, especially as it relates to your money and your work, and what you're doing to bring in money for yourself and share your gifts with the world through your work. There could be a lot of emotional clarity around that on Saturday, maybe even on Sunday as well. So the moon is going to harmonize with the sun. Then it's going to move over Jupiter. We're going to have Mercury retrograde begin in your seventh house. So again, there could be this focus on like what needs to change about my relationships or just how I talk to people around me or how I nurture connections with people around me now that Uranus is back in your 12th house as well. At the end of this week, there's really this focus on, okay, what about your inner world needs to shift to line up with how you've changed and what you're getting clarity around as it relates to how you want to move forward. Does that make sense? So that's the week ahead for you, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Cancer Rising, we start the week off with the moon in your 10th house. You could be getting more emotional clarity at the start of the week around your career and what you want to do in your career. There's been a lot of tension and challenges with that, what's going on in your career or your reputation and what's going on with you, what's going on with your home or your family or living situation. There's kind of a lot of tension between all of that. And the focus is on, okay, what relationships do you have that feel supportive to you to when things get hard, what people can you call on for help or support? Then, as we get into Tuesday, the moon moves into your 11th house, again, putting the focus on your friendships, on your community. It will be challenging Pluto in your 8th house. So, there might be some type of conflict between your community or your long term goals and your resources, your money. This might show up as like, okay, well, I want to do this. And like, I'm getting more clarity about my long term vision for myself and my life and my community and how I want to serve. But there might be restrictions on your finances to have that dream come true. So you're realizing you need to shift something there, either another stream of income or shift what you're doing completely to bring in more money or getting a raise, something like that. You're realizing you want to shift your resources. And also on Tuesday, Mars moves into your 6th house. So again, there's this momentum towards what you're doing for work. There's this momentum to shift it, maybe related to a belief system or something that you're realizing was going on in your subconscious that was playing into the same pattern repeating itself. And you're realizing like, wait, I need to shift this so that my life and my experience with it shifts as well. As we get into Wednesday, we're going to have that full moon in Taurus in your 11th house. So, illumination and clarity around your long term goals and visions. This might be some manifestation with social media or with your community or with, again, what you're doing and what dream you're building for yourself long term. There might be a lot of clarity you receive around that with this full moon in Taurus. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves over Uranus in Gemini in your 12th house, opposes Mars and Mercury. So there could be this emotional clarity that comes, further giving you insight into what subconscious things are kind of running your program underneath the surface related to all these changes you're wanting to make in your work and your career. Venus is now in your 5th house, so this could propel you into a more creative time or put your focus on dating with relationships as well and kind of just shifting what's showing up for you there. On Friday, though, there could be some challenge between what you're focused on in terms of romance or dating or creative passions and projects and what's going on with your money. So, again, it could propel you into this like, okay, in order to have this, I need to shift how I'm viewing things. I need to really look at my belief systems that are playing into my experience with this and shift them so that, again, your experience with it shifts. Also on Friday, Uranus moves back into your 11th house, into Taurus. It is going to be harmonizing with Jupiter and with Neptune. So that could also propel you into some clarity about what you want to change in your approach to your long-term goals and the dream that you've been building. As we get into Saturday, the moon moves into your 1st house. This is the energy of an emotional renewal related to you. You could also get more clarity about dating, about those things that maybe you were kind of feeling challenged with as it relates to dating, romance, or creativity, because the moon is harmonizing with Venus in your 5th house. But Venus is still challenging Pluto. So, again, there could be a lot of stuff that you're like, okay, well, I want to do this, or I'm feeling inspired to do this, but I also need to reevaluate resources and finances and investments. Um, and what's going on there. Sunday, we have Mercury retrograde starting in your sixth house, so you might begin to reevaluate what you're doing for work. Again, does it really align with your values? Does it really align with your long term goals and visions? Does it really align with the financial picture you want for yourself? And you might start to really rethink all of that stuff. But this week as well, we have, and Sunday especially, we have the moon moving over Jupiter in Cancer, harmonizing with Saturn and then Neptune. So there might be this big emotional shift that takes place or clarity you get on, like, okay, I just need to be disciplined with this spiritual practice or this belief system or like viewing life this way. And then everything else will line up to meet that. So that is the energy of this week for you, Cancer. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Leo rising. We start the week off with the moon in your ninth house. You might be getting emotional clarity around what's been healing about your belief systems, maybe your relationship with spirituality or your belief systems. What's healing about your how you're viewing life, your philosophy of life, your perspective. There's a lot that's kind of putting pressure on you to change your belief systems and look at your internal world to make these shifts that are necessary for where you're headed, what you're doing, and where you're going, and make the internal shifts so that you have success with what you're doing. And it's built on a solid foundation of believing that you can have it and that you're worthy of achieving it, whatever this is. I think I've been saying this the past few weeks with everything that's transiting your water houses, your fourth, eighth, and 12th houses. Like, there's a lot of focus on your inner world and kind of doing the reflection to see what needs to shift there. On Tuesday, we have the moon moving into your 10th house. There's an emotional focus on your career. Maybe it challenges something about your relationships or a partnership in some way as well. Also, Mars moves into your fifth house, putting the focus of how you're taking action, what you're taking action on, and what you're moving forward with on your creative passions, your romance, your dating. That can all start to really be a focus as Mars shifts into your fifth house, and it opposes Uranus in your 11th house. So you could really be evaluating what needs to change about your dating, or some creative passion or project you're acting on, as it relates to your long term goals and visions. Then on Wednesday, we have the full moon in your 10th house. This could be an illumination of your career. Could be a manifestation with your career in some way, something coming to light about, because of, like I said, the shifts you've been doing internally. Like, you're going to start to see your reality change because of what you're changing inside yourself to have whatever it is you've been manifesting. And there could be something around that that comes in um, on Wednesday with this full moon that relates to your career, your public reputation in some way. As we get into Thursday, Venus moves into Scorpio in your fourth house. Mars moves over Uranus in your 11th house. There could be this breakthrough or shift around your long term goals and visions related to what you're doing creatively or related to dating or romance. There could be this like aha moment about, like, okay, this is what I want for myself, or this is actually like where I'm headed, where I'm moving, where I'm going. This is the long term dream I see for myself that I have more clarity now on it and how I'm building it, what I'm doing to create it for myself. Venus in the fourth house, too, is really kind of like your values and your relationships, your money focus shifts to this internal lens, shifts to kind of maybe you're reeling back in. Again, looking at your internal world, just in a lot of major ways right now, Leo. And Venus on Friday is going to challenge Pluto in your seventh house. So this could bring up something about maybe dating or relationships and what needs to shift there, to have a better experience with it. Now that Uranus too on later on Friday is back in your 10th house, there could be again more positive shifts in your career, more positive realizations about what you want to change in your work or how you're making money. As we get into Saturday, the moon moves into your 12th house, into Cancer. It's going to harmonize with Venus in your fourth. And then later, on Sunday, it will harmonize with the sun in your fourth. So again, there's this. This really emotional look at your internal world, and there could be some crying, there could be some release over the weekend emotionally of like what else is coming up for you to process and let go of that you no longer want to hold on to, and keep in your subconscious. And further that on Sunday, we have the moon harmonizing with the sun. We have it moving over Jupiter. It's going to harmonize with Saturn and Neptune as Mercury goes retrograde in your fifth house. With this Mercury retrograde, you might be reevaluating a creative passion that you've started to take action on, or something about romance, something about dating. That's the major theme of what's going to be coming up with this Mercury retrograde for you. So that's your week ahead, Leo. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Virgo rising. We start the week off with the moon in your eighth house. This is an emotional focus on your resources, maybe what you're doing with money and how you're investing it, how you're paying off debt or taxes with it, um, maybe how it's coming in, or even like what your subconscious kind of relationship to money is and to resources is, and making those necessary shifts in order to have a better experience with money, and one that's more aligned with your long term goals and visions and what you want for yourself moving forward. There has been a big focus on your money. There's been a lot of tension to heal wounds related to feeling supported by money and resources, and feeling like worthy and valuable enough to have it in the ways that you want, to be able to do with it what you want. So that has been a huge focus. That's going to be amplified Monday into Tuesday, as the moon moves over Chiron and adds tension to what's been going on in your second house with Venus and what's been going on with Jupiter in your 11th house. There's a lot of kind of pressure, tension on you changing your long term goals and visions, and how you're feeling expanded with what's more of a long-term goal and vision dream that's going to support you, that's going to feel more nurturing to you, and making necessary changes to clean up your financial picture and the belief systems that play into that to align with what these long-term shifts are that you're realizing you want to make and have. Also on Tuesday, Mars moves into Sagittarius into your fourth house. It's going to oppose Uranus in your 10th house. There could be this kind of sudden momentum to change something about your home or your living situation, or a breakthrough with family that kind of puts tension on your career in some way. A lot is shifting about your career, and you're reevaluating what those shifts are and how you want to move forward with them. And Mars opposite Uranus is kind of like this catalyst moment of like really changing something in a massive way related to all of that and what's been building with that for you. As we get into Wednesday, well, actually later on Tuesday and into Wednesday, the moon moves into Taurus into your ninth house. It's going to challenge Pluto in your sixth house. So again, this is putting pressure, challenges, conflicts on what's changing about your career and how your belief systems are playing into that, how you're viewing the world around you and what you're saying about things, how you're talking about things to create that reality that you're experiencing with these things, especially as it relates to the transformation that's happening in your work, your career, and with money. On Wednesday, we have a full moon in Taurus in your ninth house. So, this is an illumination of, again, further belief systems or stories that need to shift as it relates to resources and money for you, in order to call in and have a manifestation related to that has maybe been building for the past 6 months. So, what was going on for you with money and your belief systems that play into that, and your experience of it? When would that have been? May? So what has been building there for you since May? This is the culmination of it with this full moon in Taurus. As we get into Thursday, the moon is further moving through Taurus. We're also going to have Mars harmonizing with Pluto. This could be a lot more momentum and shifts towards what's going on in your home, your family, your living situation, and maybe your inner world, how that's playing into the shifts that are happening in your career. Again, a lot of belief system stuff, and realizing you're responsible for your relationship with reality, and how you're talking about it to create it, to create what you want, or create or perpetuate what you don't want. Um, the other shift we have happening on Thursday is Venus moves into your third house. Again, putting this focus of your values and your self worth and money and relationships on your communication with it. There might be a lot more momentum as well in your kind of day to day with what you're doing, who you're talking to, who you're hanging out with, maybe incorporating more transformative practices into your routine as well, so that you're really have a solid foundation of what you're doing and kind of the spiritual things that you're doing behind the scenes, to shift everything else and to further feel supported in these shifts that are happening, in all of these areas of your life. I mean, there's so much change happening kind of all at once. Also on Thursday, the moon moves into Gemini over Uranus in your 10th house. It's going to be opposite Mars and Mercury. So again, there could be emotional clarity around what changes you're making in your career or realizing you want to make, related to home, related to family, or subconscious beliefs that maybe you were passed down through your childhood or passed down through family in some way as well. Also on Friday, there's a lot going on this week. Venus challenges Pluto in your 6th house. So again, there could be this pressure on you to really shift what you're doing on a daily basis to support your work or to support your health and having a work-life balance. Maybe again, it's some sort of spiritual practice or transformative practice that's going to help you get clarity on how to move forward and not feel so chaotic and swept up by all these changes that you're realizing, um, and that are happening for you. Then later on Friday, we have Uranus moving back into Taurus into your 9th house, again, reflecting on what's shifting about your perspective of life, your belief systems, your philosophies of life. They're also on Friday or Saturday, might be this reevaluation of a long term, or a long distance travel trip or something like that as well. Something might kind of, you might get clarity around what you want to change with that. Um, on Saturday, because also on Saturday, the moon is going to challenge Saturn and Neptune in your 7th house. This could be some emotional pull towards something in your career is creating conflict or challenges with a relationship. Doesn't have to be romantic, but could be a partnership or a work relationship. Like it's going to challenge something about maybe your need to really stand up for yourself or set boundaries with this person, so that you can be focused on what's happening in your career, instead of being drawn into the weeds with, excuse me, whatever's going on with this person. As we get into Sunday, the moon moves into your 11th house into Cancer. We also have Mercury retrograde beginning on Sunday. You might reevaluate something about your home or family, or again, this relation to what's going on for you, changes you're making, and how that maybe is helping you to realize stuff about childhood, that needs to shift, like these belief systems, how they've been playing out in your life. I also think there's going to be a lot of harmony over the weekend, starting later on Saturday with like your community, with your friend groups, what you're doing on a daily basis, who you're talking to, where you're going. There could be a lot of positive momentum with what's going on in your community and feeling more expanded and supported by the people around you. So that's the week ahead for you, Virgo. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Libra Rising. We start the week off with the moon in Aries in your 7th house. There's an emotional focus on relationships, romantic or otherwise, partnerships, the people you have around you. There's an emotional focus on people. Um, and it's harmonizing with Mercury in your 3rd house. Well, late on Sunday, early on Monday. So there could be a lot of positive conversations you have with people that kind of give you more clarity around what's going on, with your money or with your just belief systems that are playing into your experience with money that you're wanting to change. These kind of philosophies of life that you're realizing you need to shift, or belief systems you need to shift. There's a coming to a head of that, especially on Tuesday as the moon moves over Chiron. There might be something that emotionally triggers you with a relationship with somebody in your life. The 7th house isn't just romantic relationships, it's everybody that's not you. So there could be somebody that really triggers you, on Tuesday as the moon moves over Chiron and puts pressure on your values and literally you and your worthiness. So that this could be really kind of called into question, or you could be triggered, in order to see maybe these themes that you haven't cleared or processed about your worthiness and about your value. Also on Tuesday, Mars moves into your third house. So there's a lot more momentum towards what you're doing on a daily basis, where you're going, who you're talking to, and also, again, your belief systems and your communication styles and how that's playing into your philosophies of life that are changing, that you're realizing you want to change. A lot of focus on shifting your belief systems right now, on shifting how you talk about things, what you talk about, how much focus you give to certain topics in your life, and shifting that so that you have a different experience with your life, one that you actually want instead of perpetuating the things you don't want, right? It's like this energy of what you focus on grows. Then we have later on Tuesday, the moon moving into your eighth house. It's going to challenge Pluto in your fifth. This could emotionally be a focus on resources, money, debt. That really challenges something about your creativity or challenges something about dating or romance. But then we're going to have later that'll be on Tuesday. Then as we get into Wednesday, we have a full moon in Taurus in your eighth house. This could be a manifestation and a culmination of something coming in with money to help you with your resources or to help you kind of build your savings or greater invest in things you want to invest in, or get more clarity about what kind of money you want to bring in and what you want to do with it. There could be a sudden change or manifestation related to money for you on Wednesday. We also have Mars opposite Uranus right now. So again, there's this momentum towards shifting your belief systems in order to shift what's happening in your actual reality. As we get into Thursday, the moon is going to harmonize with Saturn, Neptune, and Jupiter. So there could be this emotional clarity around money, whatever came up with the full moon, and how maybe you need to shift something with what you're doing for work or career in order to line up with that, or to feel further supported by money. Maybe you need to start a side hustle or do something else for money to bring in more, or change up your investments. There's a lot of clarity that comes through Wednesday into Thursday around that. Then later on Thursday, we have the moon moving into Gemini, into your ninth house. There's this big emotional, maybe epiphany around, oh, this is the belief system that's been playing out around money for me, or around whatever is shifting for you in your belief systems. Maybe even your relationship with like spiritual principles or spiritual practices, as well, as you're getting more clarity around what needs to shift there. And there's this emotional momentum to change it. Because also on Thursday, Venus moves into your second house of money. So you're really focused on, okay, how are my sense of self, my worthiness, how I value myself, how is that playing into my experience with money? And am I really doing things for money in a way that is aligned with my values and aligned with how I deem myself and my value of being worthy of money? There could also be something about that triggers something with your creativity, or triggers something about dating or romance or your experience with those things, as Venus is going to challenge Pluto in your fifth house as well. There's a lot of emotional tension Thursday into Friday on really changing how you talk about things, because that is going to shift how you experience things. I feel like I keep saying this over and over, but that's really the energy of this week, is realizing you're the creator of your life and you're creating experiences um, based on how what you're focused on. Then as we get into Saturday, Uranus moves back into your eighth house. We have the moon in Gemini challenging Saturn and Neptune. So there might be this real big emotional conflict between a belief system you're stepping into and what's going on for work. Like, you might have to really have faith that you taking this leap is going to work out for you. You might really have to be really disciplined and committed to these internal shifts that you're having around what you do for work and how that brings in money for you, and like really committed to these new belief systems, as opposed to the old story that you don't want to keep living on repeat like Groundhog Day. As we get into Sunday, the moon will later on Saturday and into Sunday, the moon moves into your 10th house of career, putting the emotional focus on your career and what you're doing in the world, to be what you're doing in the world to be known for, how you're building your reputation and how that's playing into your financial picture. Also on Sunday, we have Mercury retrograde beginning in your third house. So you might be reevaluating again your mindset, your belief systems, maybe even to where you're going and what you're doing on a daily basis. You might reevaluate like the short distance trips that you're taking, things like that, maybe even who you're talking to on a daily basis, who you're surrounding yourself with as well. And that's the week ahead for you, Libra. So let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Scorpio rising. We start the week off with the moon in your sixth house. There's an emotional focus on your work, on your day to day routine, what you're doing to take care of yourself, and also what you're doing to make money. There might be these triggers and wounds coming up for you around all of that so that you make necessary shifts that are going to support you long term. There's a lot of changes going on with your inner world, with like how your belief systems are playing into all of that, especially on Tuesday as Mars moves into your second house and we have the moon moving over Chiron in your sixth house. There's this big, again, emotional focus on what are you shifting or what needs to shift about your belief systems in order to shift your experiences. Like there might be something that really triggers you Monday into Tuesday around all of that, and really maybe questions your current identity or what your how you're viewing your sense of self and what needs to change there. Like y'all are really in this big Phoenix rising moment of changing a lot about yourself with the sun in your first house. And then we're going to have later on Tuesday, the moon moves into your seventh house. We have a full moon in your seventh house on Wednesday that is going to illuminate what needs to change about your identity. And maybe it will come through something emotionally that happens in your relationships. There could also be a manifestation of a relationship, whether that's romantic or otherwise. This could bring in somebody new in your life to help you see how much you've changed about yourself and how much of a new identity you're stepping into or need to step into. We also have Mars now in Sagittarius in your second house opposite Uranus. So, what changes do you need to make to your money or how that money is coming in and what you're doing with it? As it relates to, like, there's just a big focus on money for so many people this week with this full moon in Taurus and everything else going on. Like, what shifts need to happen to bring in more money? What do you need to take action on? And how can you take it from a place of expectancy of like, yes, this is going to work out for me because this is what I'm led to do, even if it questions an old identity that you've been clinging on to. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your eighth house over Uranus, putting an emotional focus on that shift, on that transformation you need to make as it relates to the belief systems that are playing into your experience with resources, with money. Also on Thursday, Venus moves into your first house. This is a renewal of your money, your finances, your relationships, your sense of worthiness, and your values. So there might be a lot of all of that changing for you as we get into the end of this week so that you step into a new version of you. You step into a new identity because also Venus will be putting pressure on Pluto in your fourth house. Maybe this is related to you changing a living situation or something needs to change with your family or with your home, or what's going on there in your inner world to support all these other changes as well. As we get into Friday, we're going to have the exact square between Venus and Pluto in your first and fourth house. So this could really feel like a day of a lot of challenge between what's changing with you and what's changing with your home, or what needs to change with your home versus what needs to change with you. There's a lot of pressure on you to change that, to release something maybe in order to step into the new and have it all work out in the ways that it's meant to. You might have to take a really big leap of faith. Then, as we get into Saturday, the moon is going to challenge Saturn and Neptune in your fifth houses. This might be something is emotionally challenging related to like what's going on with your resources, or what's going on with your like inner world, and then what's going on with your creativity or dating or romance. It might really challenge you to just get clear on setting boundaries with people in ways that you need related to stepping into this new version of yourself. Like, eh, it's like if this person has kind of been taking advantage of you, it's like the you that you're stepping into would not allow for that at all. So you either need to like cut that person off, tell them off, or block them and just like, you know what I mean? Like there needs to be a boundaries in place. And I think there's going to be something that challenges you to really act on that on Saturday. Then on Sunday, we have later on Saturday and into Sunday, we have the moon moving into your ninth house. I think you're going to be feeling more harmony between all of these changes and what's going on. We also have Mercury retrograde beginning in your second house on Sunday. So there might be this focus in this shift of reevaluating your mindset as it relates to money again, and making some necessary cleanups with your mindset or with your resources, with your money in some way. So that's the week ahead for you, Scorpio. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right, Sagittarius, we start the week off with the moon in your fifth house. There's this emotional focus on romance, dating, maybe on creativity as well, what's changing about creative passions or projects that you're pursuing. Um, we also on Tuesday have the moon moving over Chiron, maybe bringing up emotional wounds as it relates to those things I just mentioned, putting pressure on your long term goals, putting pressure on who you're surrounding yourself with, and how that's relating to your vision you have for yourself in your life, the dream that you're building. Is the people you're surrounding yourself with people you want to really have in your future? There's been a lot of conflict and challenges between like healing, maybe from childhood stuff, healing your inner child, healing around romance, dating, creativity, and your relationships, your community, all kind of challenging expansion in your resources, expansion in your money, maybe even with your intuitive gifts or spiritual gifts as well. Those things that are going on with your fifth house and 11th house could feel really challenging to how you're wanting to expand internally. On Tuesday as well, Mars moves into your first house. There's this renewal of how you're taking action. Maybe you've done a lot of internal work and shifting your internal world. And so there's this kind of renewal of your energy that happens with Mars moving into your first house. It's going to oppose Uranus, though, too. So this could propel some change unexpected in your relationships or with a relationship. Doesn't have to be romantic. The seventh house is literally anyone that's not you. So this could really change your approach to people in general. And you can maybe really realize something needs to happen in order to like shift things with people in your life. Again, related to like your long-term goals and visions. Later on Tuesday, the moon moves into your sixth house into Taurus. On Tuesday, it's going to challenge Pluto in your third. So this could really propel you to, again, take action for emotional clarity on what needs to transform with like who you're talking to on a daily basis or where you're going on a daily basis. That's related to like your energy, your physical health, and maybe needing to put boundaries, set boundaries to better take care of you, and that how that's playing into your work. On Wednesday, we're going to have the full moon in Taurus in your sixth house. So again, some illumination of your work, your physical health, maybe your body, some shift or manifestation that you've been building over the last 6 months with your body, your physical health comes to a head for you to really see maybe what needs to be further cleaned up there, to have what you have been manifesting for the past 6 months in this area of your life. This could be related to work as well. Maybe there's something you're releasing about work in order to have something new and have the space for whatever it is you want to change or do there. On Thursday, the moon moves into your seventh house over Uranus. Venus also on Thursday is going to move into Scorpio and challenge Pluto in your third house. So this could really be some big shift at a subconscious level, maybe related to your relationships and what's going on there. Again, it's the big focus for you right now is people in your life. And there could be some emotional breakthrough that you have on Thursday around somebody in your life and what maybe needs to change about a relationship or somebody you're interacting with. Then, like I said, Friday, we have that square between Venus and Pluto. There could be something you're really challenged to see about your inner world in order to further clean things up in your subconscious, maybe shift something about your belief systems or a childhood thing or a past life thing that has been affecting you that you no longer want to be living out, and how to make necessary changes to that so you don't keep replaying the past. Saturday, early on Saturday, the moon is going to challenge Saturn and Neptune. There could be something that happens in a relationship emotionally that challenges something with your home or living situation or maybe family. Then later on Saturday, the moon moves into your eighth house. There's this emotional focus on your inner world and on shifting what's going on there emotionally. Maybe again, doing that inner work of like, okay, what else do I need to process or clear in my emotional body to move forward and have the changes I want to have in my life. In ways that are going to be more beneficial to my long-term goals and visions is kind of the vibe on Saturday. Sunday, the moon harmonizes with the North Node and with the sun in your internal houses with your home. There might be some realization about a direction you're moving with your home or with family. And then on Sunday as well, we have the Mercury retrograde beginning in your first house. There might suddenly be this internal look at and shift around your mindset with how you're viewing yourself, your mindset with how you're viewing your body or your appearance, or what is shifting there, what further kind of needs cleanup there. Also, Uranus is now in your sixth house again, back in Taurus. So there might be some further adjustments that are needed in terms of your routine and what you're doing to take care of your physical body and yourself. That's going to be a theme of the Mercury retrograde for as well. So that's the week ahead for you, Sagittarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right, Capricorn, we start the week off with the moon in your fourth house. This is an emotional focus on your home, your family, your living situation. Maybe there could be something you're taking action on there, wanting to change, wanting to shift. As we get into Tuesday, the moon is going to move over Chiron in your fourth house. There could be some emotional trigger that comes up around home or family that puts tension on something in your career. That also maybe challenges your relationships and kind of who's around you and how that has been expanding for you, but also feeling really challenged. Like there's this challenge going on between how you spend time with people, who you spend time with, your home, your family, and your career. And that's going to be amplified at the beginning of the week. Later on Tuesday, we have Mars moving into your 12th house. It's going to oppose Uranus in your 6th house. The moon moves into your 5th house. It's going to challenge Pluto in your 2nd house. This could be some emotional conflict between what's going on in your creative passions, pursuits, what's going on with money and needing some sort of change with your money. It could feel really emotionally challenging at the start of Tuesday, but it all kind of comes down to whatever you're believing to be true about the situation, and you're realizing you have to really make a shift with what your subconscious is believing about this stuff, or about whatever is changing for you in your work and in your kind of career as well. There's a lot of internal work that's coming up for you to really look at and focus on shifting, so that it shifts how you're experiencing everything on the external, right? Go internal to shift, and then the external changes. As we get into Wednesday, we have the full moon in Taurus in your 5th house. This could be a manifestation, a culmination of some type of creation, or what you've been doing with romance, with dating that's new, or something you've been building or manifesting over the past 6 months. Could also relate to pregnancy or children for some of you. For others of you, creative passions, pursuits. There could be some sort of like, okay, here's the idea, or here's the energetic shift to take action on this thing that I've been kind of waiting for. It kind of all comes to a head on Wednesday with the full moon. Could be related to money as well, and what's going on with your creative pursuits as it relates to money. Then on Thursday, we have the moon moving into Gemini over Uranus in your 6th house. It's going to be opposite Mars and Mercury in your 12th. Again, this emotional illumination of your mindset and how your belief systems are playing into your experiences of life, especially as it comes to your work, your career, how you're making money. On Thursday as well, Venus moves into your 11th house. You might get suddenly this shift in focus from that clarity that comes through of like, okay, this is actually what I want to do in my long term, or this is actually some goals that are shifting for me, or some dreams that I'm realizing I want to have and create for myself. But that could put pressure on your money. That could challenge your financial picture or something. There could also be this realization, especially on Friday, related to your long-term goals and visions and money. Like, okay, I really want to live in this kind of house, but it's going to cost this much. And so I really have to shift how I'm making money to bring in more of it, or shift my belief systems to see that I can actually have that amount of money, or I can have that kind of house, right? It's like you have to really be disciplined with shifting your belief systems as it relates to what you want to have, that you're realizing is different than what you wanted before. Also on Friday and into Saturday, Uranus moves back into Taurus, into your 5th house. So there could be, again, these changes and these innovations with dating, with romance, with children, with your creative passions and pursuits. and kind of this reevaluation of what's going on there that you're wanting to shift and wanting to change. The moon on Saturday moves into your seventh house. So there's this emotional focus on the other people in your life and your relationships and your community. Over the weekend, you might be spending a lot more time with people, and that might feel really nourishing to you to help you kind of integrate these changes that you've been making and that have maybe felt kind of heavy. Then on Sunday, we have the moon harmonizing with the sun in your 11th, north node in your third. There could be this emotional just feeling of support through who you're talking to, where you're going on a daily basis, who you're hanging out with, who you're meeting, what you're even consuming on social media. Later on Sunday, Mercury retrograde starts in your 12th house, and there is this shift to reevaluate, again, your belief systems and your subconscious that are playing into your experience of reality. So that is the week ahead for you, Capricorn. Let me know how it resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Aquarius Rising, we start the week off with the moon in your third house. There's an emotional focus on your day to day, short distance travel, who you're talking to, where you're going, also on your belief systems, and maybe making some changes there to your communication styles or like your mindset that's going to help you with the beginning you have embarked on and the new, whatever is new that you're building for yourself. Um, as we get into Tuesday, the moon moves over Chiron. There could be an emotional wound or trigger. You could go somewhere and somebody triggers you, puts pressure again on your belief system, what you're believing to be true about your life and yourself. And both of those things are challenging something about your work, challenging something about your day to day routines or health. Maybe you're realizing you need to shift what you do for work or be more disciplined with this new income source or something that you're building, this new direction you're headed with money. There is this need to really be disciplined with it. And you might get kind of triggered to realize that or have that kind of emotional momentum to take action on it on Tuesday. Also on Tuesday, Mars moves into your 11th house, opposes Uranus. There could be this major shift in what you're doing that is building your long-term goal and your vision and your dream, right? It kind of all plays into the same kind of stuff. What are you changing about your creative passions or projects? There's going to be a lot more momentum towards that on Tuesday and taking action based on whatever came up. Another thing on Tuesday is that the moon moves into your fourth house, into Taurus, challenges Pluto in your first. So there could be something emotionally that happens within your home or your family, or within a belief system that challenges you, that challenges your sense of self and what is shifting and changing about your sense of self. As we get into Wednesday, we're going to have the full moon in Taurus in your fourth house. There could be an illumination of career related to what's going on in your home. Maybe you need to move, or maybe you need to, there's this kind of emotional epiphany around career and how your family or your home is playing into that, or vice versa. We also are going to have, as we get into Thursday, Venus shifting into your 10th house. So there is a lot more focus on, okay, what was the mindset work you were doing and how is that playing into the changes you're making to have more money is what a lot of it feels like. And there's going to be this focus on shifting a lot about your identity and shifting your sense of self, especially as we get into Thursday. I think I already mentioned that we're in Thursday now, but the moon on Thursday is going to move over Uranus in your 5th house, put tension on Mars and Mercury in your 11th. So again, like what needs to change about what you're doing creatively, what you're sharing with the world as it relates to this dream that you're building that's different from what you have been living. And then, like I said, Venus is going to challenge Pluto in your 10th and 1st. So this might be like this kind of momentum or catalyst to change something about your career related to what's changing about you. Especially on Friday, is that Venus Pluto square is going to peak on Friday as well. The moon in your 5th house challenges the nodes in your areas of money. So there could be this kind of maybe stress with money or this conflict that happens with money that you're like, oh, this is why I'm shifting what I'm doing for work or how I'm making money. This is why my long-term goals and visions have shifted so that I can kind of better work with these challenges as they come up. Then as we get into Saturday, the moon moves into Cancer in your 6th house. There's harmony with your emotional focus on work and what's going on in your career. It's kind of like you got all the pieces of the puzzle and now you're putting them together. There might be a lot of support emotionally that comes in for you too through your work or through something like that, maybe through your home or your family or changes that have happened there. As Uranus is now back in your fourth house, retrograding back into Taurus now. And then Sunday furthers that message of emotional harmony between what's going on in all your areas of work and money. We also have Mercury retrograde beginning in your 11th house. So there might be something about your long term goals or your belief systems playing into the dream you're building that is getting a reevaluation. So that's the week ahead for you, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments. And I'll see you next week. All right, Pisces rising. This says Aries rising. It's hard to find, y'all, Pisces risings. Okay. These y'all are so rare. Pisces rising, we start the week off with the moon in your second house. There's a big emotional focus on money, on what needs to shift with your money, what you've been triggered about as it relates to money, in your maybe belief systems and how you're taking action based from those belief systems of what is true for you in money or what gets to be true for you in money, right? There's a lot of pressure in your finances, and your creative passions to really change how you're viewing all of it so you can change your experience with it and call in more money for yourself and be supported by your creative passions and what has been expanding there for you or changing about that. Tuesday, Mars moves into your 10th house. There's a lot of momentum towards your career, maybe changing something in your home or your family in order to have more ability to focus on your career and make necessary changes there. Also on Tuesday, the moon moves into Taurus and challenges Pluto in your 12th. So this again could really call into question some belief systems. And I swear the big focus for everybody this week is like not perpetuating your past, and really getting honest with yourself about the stories that you've been telling about your past and what needs to shift because you're creating your future by what you're saying now. You're creating your reality by what you are literally voicing into the world, as true for you. So there's a lot of momentum towards shifting that this week. And then, especially on Wednesday, because we have the full moon and Taurus in your third house, there could be this illumination of a mindset that hasn't been serving you. So you can shift it and make the necessary changes, to have the relationship with money and manifestation of money or with money that you want. As we get into Thursday, the moon moves over Uranus in your fourth house, opposes Mars and Mercury in your 10th. There could be some emotional breakthrough around home, family, maybe needing to make a move or just getting more clarity on what that's going to look like and how to move forward with that eventually. Maybe, again, related to your career. Maybe you want to change jobs or you need a bigger home in order to do what you want to do with your career. There's something that's changing there. And then on Thursday, Venus moves into Scorpio into your 9th house. Again, putting this focus on what has shifted about your values, your sense of worthiness, your relationships, your goals with money, that needs a transformation at a subconscious level, right? It's like if you want to be a millionaire, you have to believe that that's possible for you. That's kind of this energy is like what needs to shift at a subconscious level so that you create what you're manifesting. Then especially on Friday, that peaks with Venus challenging Pluto in your 12th. There might be a lot of subconscious themes that are coming up for you around all of that, that you're realizing are playing into what's going on. You might be spending a lot more time at home as we end out the week because the moon is going to be moving through your fourth house. And then as we get into Saturday, the moon moves into your fifth house, putting the emotional focus on your creativity, maybe on romance or dating if that applies. And it's going to harmonize with Venus in your ninth. So these changes that you're making and all this work that you've been doing, it's kind of building this momentum towards having that shift occur for you. And I think as we get into the weekend, there's going to be more momentum towards, okay, I have the clarity. I know what was blocking me or holding me back. I've shifted it. And now I'm experiencing a different version of reality because of that. Also, over the weekend, Uranus moves back into your third house, putting again the focus on changing and innovating your mindset and your belief systems. Then, as we get into Sunday, we have Mercury retrograde beginning in your 10th house. There might be a reevaluation of something in your career. Maybe, again, how those old mindsets have been showing up in your experience with career and what needs to shift in order to shift that experience you're having with what's going on in your career and momentum that's happening there. So that's the week I have for you, Pisces. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. All right, this was your weekly horoscope. I love you all. Let me know how it's resonating with you in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye.